Greetings and salutations, everybody. Welcome to I-86 After Dark, and I am your host, Buffalo Bob. I am here with my co-host, Great Dame, aka Damien McRutt. And tonight, we have a very special guest on board. We are here with the one and only Jiggs McDonald. Jiggs, it is an absolute pleasure to have you on tonight, sir.
Bobby, I appreciate the invite. Happy to be with you.
Absolutely. How you doing lately?
Good, real good. I'm probably doing better than I should be for a guy this age, but I'm not complaining a bit.
Yeah, you know what? You're still going strong, brother. That's all that matters, you know? It's
Thank
like
you.
the
Yeah,
energy.
how old are you actually now?
86, almost 87.
Oh, man. God bless you, man. I mean, you're still
Yeah.
going strong.
Oh, and to stay up this late? No, I'm good. Everything is fine, boys.
Absolutely. So, for those of you who don't know, Jiggs McDonald is a legendary play-by-play for the New York Islanders all throughout the 1980s, and he's inducted into the Hockey Hall of Fame, and he was the OG play-by-play for the Los Angeles Kings throughout the 60s into the 70s, a short, brief, stint with the Atlanta Flames, and then, of course, the rest was history with the New York Islanders. So it is an absolute pleasure to have you here tonight, and we're going to have a lot of fun with you today. I got to tell you, for sure.
Looking forward to it. Yeah, thank you. To be the original guy in 67, I love to say, well, yeah, there was the original 6, but I was involved with the original 12. Where are we today? 32, 20 teams later. Wow.
Yeah. Yeah. And then eventually in like 4 years from now, there's going to be 36 teams.
Yeah, Batman has his way. There'll be more teams, including another one in Atlanta again.
Yeah, don't mention expansion because it's going to piss them off.
Yeah.
Yeah. It would just piss off Damien if you just mention the word expansion to anything. He'd be like, "No, we don't want it."
Well, if Atlanta gets a team again, Jiggs, would you consider going back again?
No. The game is way too fast for me these days. The game has changed a lot. I would consider going back to Atlanta to live. We loved it there. Mm-hmm. History, just the whole environment at that time. And of course, I'm talking 1972 to 1980, the Atlanta suburbs and the downtown area. But no, I'm not going anywhere to do a game again, ever.
Yeah. I mean, my wife and I were just in Atlanta this past week for the Monday night game with the Bills and Falcons, and I was there for 4 days. And I got to tell you, Atlanta surprised me a lot how convenient it is just to go from the hotel to Olympic Park, and then you had like the aquarium and Coca-Cola factory. It was just perfect in that scenario, honestly.
Yeah. Although if you're going to live downtown, I don't know that that's the ideal thing. The suburbs are beautiful. Back in our day in Atlanta, we lived in, and most of the players, I think probably all of the players lived in the Marietta area. We could be downtown for practice in less than a half hour. And they tell me now to come from the same suburbs to the arena is probably the better part of an hour and a half. It just, the traffic constantly, day and night. We were what they call close in, but difference between half hour, 40 minutes to an hour and 45 now is significant.
Without a doubt. But you know what? At the end of the day, before we get started, I'll just say that I had a really good time in Atlanta, and there was just a lot to do. And I do a lot of traveling in this country, and Atlanta was my recent stop. So I got to see, the Mercedes-Benz Stadium in Atlanta for the Falcons, and then just seeing all kinds of scenery. And plus, I was rocking an Atlanta Thrashers jersey, and I've got maybe like 6-7 stops throughout my trip. And it's like, yo, I remember that jersey, or hey, I hope the Thrashers come back, or something like that.
Good. Some great places to eat. Atlanta, I mean, you can go. You can run the whole gamut. You can do the Southern cuisine, or you can go to a Russian restaurant. I think it's still there, up in one of the rooftops of one of the downtown hotels. It's an amazing city. It really is.
Oh yeah. I mean, when I go back, when hopefully hockey goes back to Atlanta, yes, but that's for another time. Hopefully in like 3 years. But Damien doesn't like Atlanta very much.
all the talk is out in the suburbs. You're not going to be using that arena uh, next to the football stadium, the Mercedes-Benz Stadium. If they proceed the way they're talking, there's two options, as I understand it. One in the Marietta area, and the other one is out in Gwinnett County, not too far from where the current ECHL team has their home games. Brand new arena, millions, almost $1 billion, of course, for a franchise, and then umpteen million to build a new facility. And if you're going to build a facility out that far from the heart of Atlanta, then you better be assured that you've got at least one occupant that's going to give you 40 plus home games, and then concerts and circus and what have you, in order to make that building viable.
Absolutely, without a doubt. So hopefully it works out in the near future as far as Atlanta's concerned. So okay, so I guess to kick things off, Jigs, because we went on a lot about Atlanta for a little while. I guess the first question is then everybody wants to know, how did you get your start in broadcasting and how did you get recruited?
Started broadcasting. I had an infatuation with broadcasting as a kid, probably 5 6 years old. I was listening. This is before the little pocket transistor radios, but I had a bedside radio that I listened to at night, uh, listening to stations as far away as I could get. Uh, Not only the intrigue of radio, but as I grew a little older, um, hockey in particular, sports broadcasting. It just it just kind of lit something within. But getting into the business, I was a disc jockey. I was at two different stations until I probably got the opportunity to do play by play on a regular basis, and said, "Hey, this is what I really enjoy. You can be as creative as you let the juices be." I had been at a station at one time, very briefly, that had a 7 second talk um, regulation. All you could talk was 7 seconds between records or out of commercial to another record. What are you going to do in 7 seconds, boys? How creative can you be? So, getting the opportunity to have the game unfold in front of me, whether it was hockey, intermediate baseball, senior baseball, um, some high school football, it I just felt comfortable. That's where I needed to be. But as far as getting a job, I wasn't good enough in high school to be on the high school radio show, but I hung around the radio station. I did a couple of reports from time to time. Um, one of the one of the announcers at that particular station did a Saturday morning weather and travel thing that was produced in Toronto. They invited me to go to Toronto with them. One of the other announcers was from Lindsay, Ontario, and we talked a little bit. Told him that yes, I was interested in getting into the business. He said, "Well, I may have something coming up," and this was probably, I'm going to say, it was probably May, end of May, early June. In July, he called, had an opening, and I got 20. I think I got somewhere in the neighborhood of $25 a week to take that job 100 and whatever miles away from my hometown.
I mean, that's not a bad ordeal entirely because I remember when Rick Jeanneret first came up, the late Rick Jeanneret, the legendary voice for the Buffalo Sabres. I
Yep.
remember watching a documentary about him, and he got his start a little bit differently than how you did it. And I think something happened to Rick Azar, if I'm not mistaken. He got sick or something like that. And someone said to Rick in the stands, like, "Do you know how to do play by play?" He's like, "No, but I'll give it a try." And he was in the radio very early on, and then the rest was history. But that's Rick
Yeah.
Jeanneret for you.
Yeah.
Well, I
But
think
Good
it's
man.
crazy that you had the same kind of thing happen to you in high school, where they told you you weren't good enough to be on radio. Kind of like Michael Jordan getting cut from his basketball team and then going on to greatness. Life will constantly put obstacles in your way, and it's for us to like try to work past those obstacles to get what we want in life.
And it happened again at that first radio station. I went on the air the middle of July. I got the job. Um, Took me all day by train and cab and so on to get to the radio station. I was on the air at 7 o'clock that night. I was from July, I guess, probably till sometime in August, and they took me off the air. I wasn't good enough, and they were right. I wasn't, but they didn't send me home. They didn't fire me, and I give CKLY and the owners of that radio station back in 1956 all the credit in the world. What they did do, I became the court reporter, but court only operated once a week in that small town. I was like a news hound. They taught me how to do the logs, how to schedule commercials. You didn't put two car dealers back to back, or you didn't run two soft drink companies or two whatever back to back. Um, and if an advertiser or a sponsor had purchased a certain flight number of commercials, they didn't all run in the morning or the afternoon. How to spread them out through the evening, in particular, your top listen to periods, your drive time, so to speak, and how to write commercials. I was uh, I was writing commercials. I wasn't recording any, but I was writing for local advertisers. So I learned a lot. Over and above that, I did spend some time in the control room, um, learning the board, how to mix the sound a little bit better than I had been. And when the opportunity came, they fired a guy I guess on a Friday night, I think it was, and I was told the next morning, get your butt upstairs, get on the air, fill in until we get somebody. And they didn't get anybody. I stayed for probably probably a year and a half before I left to go to Orillia, Ontario.
Interesting. I mean,
But you know,
that is
I looked at it like a guy going to junior A hockey camp in Canada or in Ontario and not making the team and being sent down, going to junior B, junior C, junior D. I wasn't going home. I didn't care. I didn't want to say, yeah, I couldn't do it. Um,
Mhm.
and like I said before, I give the people that own the station and program the station all the credit for keeping me on, giving me that opportunity. Um, and I'm going to pat myself on the back for when the opportunity came along saying, well, you're not going to get me off the air now.
Well,
I
you made yourself useful to the radio
Yes.
station.
Yeah.
That's a lesson for all kids listening. It's like any job that you have, you may not always be what you want to be, but make yourself useful to the company.
Yeah. Don't go into it saying, well, I only do news or I only do sports or I only do traffic or do everything. Do everything that comes down the pike at the radio station. Um, Learn it from the bottom up. You're going to find your niche, but you need to try your hand at anything that comes along.
Absolutely. And you know what, too? I got to give you props, Jakes, because the resiliency that you went through just to climb up to that mountain to the point of your career is astonishing. And I can't think of many play by play, announcers or just anybody in general. We actually had recently, we had Mike Lodish on our show, who was a defensive tackle for the Buffalo Bills. And he said to us was that he felt that he wasn't good enough and then he felt he was too small, but he kept going and going and going and he played every shift in the NFL like it was his last. And then he
Yeah,
got the call by the Bills and he said, why did it take you so long to draft me? But he said it was because he was young and naive. But then once he got drafted, he was like, all right, I'm learning the playbook, got cut, went to the practice squad, and then someone got hurt and then made it back onto the top. So in that way in broadcasting, I think could be used in that retrospective.
yeah. Practice hard, work hard, whether it's practice or game or getting into a game. But to get to that point where you're going to be in the game or on the air, work as hard as diligently. Don't slough off. If somebody says, "Oh, we need you to work a double shift," or fill in for here, even though you're signing off the station tonight, can you be back in tomorrow morning at 6? Absolutely, I can be there. Not a problem.
Absolutely. And Damien, I believe you have a question for Mr. McDonald.
Well, I know they talked about how they had about 118 applicants that came out for the job with the Kings when they were looking for an
Yeah.
announcer. And you ended up getting the job after the second run through, and they stuck you with an young Al Michaels. Like
Well,
how
that didn't work,
how
Damien.
did that happen? And
It
like
didn't. It didn't. Damien, it didn't happen.
it didn't
He
happen?
was hired. Al was hired, and we met in the lobby of the hotel in New York City, which is another great story. And he had been hired by somebody in the king's office. The and I don't know who it was because it shouldn't have been anybody in the king's office at the time. Anybody who had been hired was in Springfield for the naming of the Springfield Indians, or renaming to the Springfield Kings. Jack Kent Cook, myself, Larry Regan, um, Ed Fitkin didn't do any hiring, but Ed would have been in the office in LA. Somebody hired Al to be the analyst or the color man. So, as I said, we met in a hotel lobby because Jack Kent Cook said to me after the naming and everything that had gone on in Springfield was that he wanted me to go to New York to represent the Lakers at an NBA PR directors meeting. And I said, Mr. Cook, I've never even seen an NBA game. I've never been to one. He said, you'll be fine. Just follow whatever the Chicago Bulls do. If the Wirtz family raise their hand on a motion or whatever, you follow suit. You do whatever Chicago does. Oh, okay. So I go to New York the next morning, walking down the hall, and a guy walked up behind me and introduced himself. His name was Dick White, and he was or had been the PR director for the Los Angeles Lakers, but he had left the Lakers to go to San Diego. And while we're chatting, and he's telling me how difficult this is going to be, it's the first year of the coaches calling a timeout. Fred Schaus is coaching the Lakers at the time. Fred refused to take the timeout. So they're going to come down hard on the Lakers, and there'll probably be a fine involved, is what Dick is telling me. And as we're chatting, this young man walks up behind and he said, hey, is your name McDonald? I said, yeah. He said, I'm Al Michaels. I'm going to be working with you. Oh, hi, nice to meet you. Of course, Al was not established at that time. He was, I guess, right out of college. Um, so we sat there throughout the morning. Nothing happened that involved the Lakers or any fines or whatever. And my wife had had our second daughter on the Tuesday morning, I believe, of that week. So I said to Al, and my wife was in Ontario at the time. So I said, any chance that you're okay handling this if I get a flight, go home, get my wife home, my new daughter, and I'll be back in LA Monday morning. No, go ahead. So that's what happened. By the time I got back to LA, probably within the next 2 weeks, I was told that that young man you met, yeah, he's going to be working with Chick Hearn on the Lakers side of things. He's not going to be with you. Ed Fitkin is going to be your guy, the guy that they had hired originally, the first guy out of Toronto. So Al and I never, the only time that we actually were on the same announce staff for an event would be the Winter Olympics in Calgary in '88. He was the lead hockey play-by-play guy, and I was the secondary guy with Mike Eruzione.
Wow. Okay. Because I don't know. You know how the internet works.
Oh
People
yeah. Oh no,
stories everywhere all
I
the
have Val's
time.
book here, and
Well,
he mentions.
yeah, I looked into it about him working with Chick Hearn, and I know Chick Hearn was very particular, and he didn't want to work with Al because he was too young.
Let's pretend this is the microphone. So so Chick's got the mic. Al reaches for it, and Chick pulls it back. Oh no, you're not touching my microphone. Uh, the and Al didn't finish out the entire first season. Um, he was not only no, I not really sure how to put this. He got on the air. He was able to say a few things every now and then with Chick, but he was also made the traveling secretary. So he's got the per diem money, he's got the airline tickets, and he's at LAX. Lakers are leaving to go somewhere. This is long before cell phones, of course, so he's paged. He's to take the phone. It's Jack can't cook. Mr. Cook wants him to come to the office in Beverly Hills. And he said, well, we're getting on a flight to go wherever. No, no, you're not. Give the tickets, give everything to whoever, and get to the office. I need to see you. So as Al's walking out of the airport, Rod Hundley is walking into the airport. Rod has been hired to work with the Chick, and he will take the tickets and the per diem money. And Al went to Beverly Hills to be fired.
Wow! Oh my God!
Yeah.
That's wild. Honestly, I mean,
Jack Kent Cook was ruthless. I'm searching for a coach's name, basketball coach. On a Friday afternoon, I came out of the building to go home. I had seen the coach again. I wish I could remember his name. I had seen him come into the building because the basketball office and hockey offices were next to one another. And when I came out of the building to go home, he is sitting there just on the step outside the forum. And I said, "What's going on?" Well, he said, "I've been fired, and they won't let me take my company car home, so my wife is coming in from wherever to pick me up." Holy cow! Yeah, he could be ruthless from time to time. Probably 90% of the time.
yeah. I mean, when you were talking about the Lakers coach, I have to assume that was probably Pat Riley because he's the only other Lakers coach I can think of.
No, it wasn't Pat. Pat came after my time there, and it wasn't Van Bredikoff, and it wasn't nice, short little man. It'll come to me.
Yeah, I can't remember the guy's name either.
I wish I knew basketball now. That's the thing. I wish I had the tools for it, but you know what though? Because we're on your broadcasting career, and you've had a pretty long career at that point, 20 plus years in, going in from LA, and then going from place to place, and time to time, and all that stuff, and then you get.
I couldn't hold a job, could I? I couldn't put down roots anywhere. It seemed.
Oh no, it's not like you got into the Hall of Fame or something. That's fine.
Yeah, maybe you were too good for those places, so you had to move on.
Well, Damien, I'd like to say it took me 8 years to put Atlanta out of business. The first time around with the Flames was 8 years, and I don't recall how many years the Thrashers had before they went to Winnipeg. Being the same, maybe 10?
About 15 years at this point.
Was it?
Yeah.
Really that long.
Yeah, it was a while ago. That whole thing was just a big, gigantic shtick, basically of incompetent ownership, and then they were more interested in the Hawks, and they just treated the Thrashers like shit, and basically they just threw them to the side, said, "Now just do whatever you want with it." And then, of course, nobody wanted to buy the team in Atlanta or keep the experiment going, and they said, "You know what? We got to go to Winnipeg in 2011," and they've been there ever since.
Yep. Yeah, you look at that franchise, they're stumbling around a little bit, but Calgary won a Stanley Cup within a couple of years after leaving Atlanta. I say a couple of years, it was more than that, I guess, but they had the framework there of a pretty good hockey team by the time the axe fell in 80.
That sounds about right. But I was going to ask you what was your very first NHL broadcast like?
Scary. Actually, we did I think probably 3 or 4 preseason games in Guelph, Ontario. The training camp was Guelph in 1967. I had been in LA only very briefly, and not for a great period of time on any of the visits. So I was not familiar with some of the pronunciations of like La Cienega, La Jolla, things that just were totally foreign to me as far as the language and pronunciation, as I said. So there was a couple little hiccups, but overall, it went well enough. Um, and then when the season opened, of course, the Kings were playing in the Long Beach Arena, and there wasn't really a full, um, curtained off, not curtained off, but broadcast booth, as we know, broadcast booth uh, jargon these days. So we were pretty much out in the seats, and the same actually at the sports arena, the big arena, bigger at that time anyway, near the Coliseum there in L.A. Um, my first road game was the first television game. I'd never done a game on TV. Uh, I honestly went up to the back row of the Oakland Alameda Coliseum and sat and prayed. Um, Not to say that I'm a diehard religious, but I believe, and I prayed. It went pretty well, but one of the things that people just shake their heads about when I tell the story is that the replays came from the studios in LA at KTLA Channel 5. We didn't see the replay on our monitor. We had no idea where they were starting it from, and they would say in our ear, "We're going to pick it up when the puck's at that line." What line? The blue line, the goal line, the red line? What line are we talking about, boys? Oh, it's rolling. And you just had to hope that you were remembering what you had seen, or Ed, who was doing color. Um, yeah, it was talk about flying by the seat of your pants. And of course, we were simulcasting too. So we are having trouble. Well, as you can see, or if you're seeing, you're in your car on the on the San Diego freeway. You're not seeing what we're, and we weren't seeing with you either. But it we got through it. I think we had 20 televised games each of the first couple of seasons out there.
I mean, that's not a bad stretch as a whole. But you know what? Just like we do with these interviews, we usually just be like, you know what? I'm like scared to death because the very first guest we ever had on here, and I was just like, I don't know what the hell I'm gonna do. Is believe it or not, Darius Kasparaitis, and Casper was a great guy on the show, and he was telling us stories about his time in in the Lithuania, and then in the CSKA, and then with the Islanders, and then it was a good overall time. I didn't know what the hell to expect when we
Oh,
interviewed him.
he would interview you. He Darius, Darius, as you say, as a character. When I did the Olympics in France, and I knew going over that the Islanders had the rights to Vladimir Malakov, and they also had this Kasparaitis guy. But Vladdy Malakov was the big guy. He was going to turn the franchise around and so on. I came back from the Olympics, and I said to Al Arbor, wait till you see Kasparaitis. Al said, Who? Who the hell is that? What disease is that? Darius Kasparaitis hits anything that moves, hits hard, can move the puck. And I never got to meet him because the Russians wouldn't let me anywhere near the players at that time. We got to ask maybe two questions a day of Tikhonov, but that was it. But I remember vividly saying to Al Arbor, "Wait till you see Darius Kasparaitis."
Yeah, Casper is a genuine guy. We loved having him on here, and I mean, if you want to catch up with him, I'd be more than happy to hook you up with him.
Oh, I just he was 53, celebrated a birthday yesterday or the day before,
Yeah,
and
something like that.
yeah, so I wished him a happy birthday, and I forget what I had said anyway. His response was, "Coming from an old fart like you, that's pretty good." I said, "Hey, you're catching up. Now I'm nowhere near 100 like you. I'm only 53." Oh yeah, he good man, good guy. Like Darius a lot.
Well, speaking of like having to like do your background for like when you're doing a different team or a different game, like how do you prepare for a game, especially when like covering unfamiliar players or teams?
You go, well, at least in my case, I tried to go back through their record against whoever the opponent is. If I was going in to do two teams that I wasn't involved with or familiar with, recent record, injuries, uh, games coming up, what their record is against those teams, what who the coach likes to play line against line, how he likes to match up. things of that nature. I always found that two sources of good information would be the trainers and equipment guys. Had somebody changed sticks? Have they gone to a different lie or changed the curve in their stick, or have they uh, changed their whole game routine plan? Trainers, uh, they weren't giving you um, deep information. And I don't recall ever asking why somebody wasn't on such and such a line. That's coaching material. That's not up to the trainers. Then the other source would be their broadcaster, either their play-by-play guy or their color man. Uh, you build up a relationship over the course of the years, knowing that they can trust you and you can trust them not to relay. It's not like, oh, hey, right down to the dressing room, they're making a change on the front line. The first line, so and so, is not on the right side. Somebody else is. No, you didn't betray anything like that. You didn't
Mhm.
sit and talk to them and say, what's your lineup look like tonight, and run with that information. You used it for your own benefit on the air. So
Yeah.
uh, I always try to tell a young guy coming into the business to two things. Number one, learn the history of the franchise that you're going to be working for. Learn the history. Deal with the past. The present will take care of itself. And secondly, and equally as important, maybe even more so, the rule book. Understand, know what the rule book says. Don't sound half naked on the air like I think maybe, or perhaps it could be. What is it? Do the rule
Mhm.
book. I had the benefit years ago coming into the radio business of having been involved in amateur hockey, and where we hosted ran referees clinics. So we had at that time Frank Goodberry, who was the referee in chief of the National Hockey League, put these young wannabe referees through a weekend of programming, and he explained the rule book paragraph, section by section. Section B means that, well, yeah, what A said is fine, but if it happens on a Tuesday night, no, you go to this. The complications of the rule book are many. So learn the rules, and if you're ever in doubt, get a referee aside, because referees and linesmen are willing to talk. Get them aside before a game, after a game. Explain to me what this means, or what happened, what is the call, why is that call made. Don't 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 get caught on the air not knowing what's going on.
Yeah.
Oh
I'll
yeah.
tell you what not to use is the internet, because apparently you were broadcasting with Al Michaels when I researched.
Well, they have been hired to work with me, Damien, but no,
I guess you didn't really have to worry about that in your day, but I don't know.
no,
I figured
no.
once the internet came along, we would have all the answers, but unfortunately, you still got to do your research.
Yeah, yeah. You know, when you think about it, the not only the internet but the cell phones, the things
Mhm.
that went on after games, the some nights if you were out with the players, which wasn't that often, but sometimes things happen. Uh, Somebody, not a player but a fan, somebody say, "Oh yeah, I can take this guy," and all of a sudden up come the Dukes, and we got a little brouhaha. Um, with cell phones, you can't. Well, the guys don't go out these days. It's obvious the players don't have the fun that the players did back in the 60s and 70s, 80s, even.
Yeah, without a doubt. I mean, broadcasting has changed so drastically in the last like 30, 40 years from when you were in the NHL
Yep.
to like the modern game now. Like, it's more about the basics of just explaining the sport compared to like now we have like AI, and then you have, advanced stats or the like analytical stats, and then all this fancy shit that nobody really uses at this point unless you're like into like building a team based off of analytics, because a lot of teams in the NHL do that. I don't really understand the concept behind it.
I don't either. It's like, well, the baseball playoffs, Blue Jays in particular recently. Why do you take a guy out? Well, he's throwing 85 pitches or whatever, but he's throwing the ball hard. He's getting guys out, and then your bullpen lets you down, and oh, it's analytics. Analytics did this. Analytics say that. Same thing with your power play in the hockey. Well, the analytics say that your team, your power play is better if this guy plays the right point. But yeah, he doesn't play the right point. He plays the left side on a regular basis. Why move him over there and hope for the best? It just, and who's going good? If you've got two or three guys that are struggling tonight, yet they normally play the power play, analytics say they should be on the power play. No, if they're not going, they shouldn't be on the power play that night or the penalty kill.
Absolutely. I agree with you 100% on that. I mean, it should be just straightforward, get
Yep.
to the point, play your penalty killing unit, play your power play unit, and just take the 2 minute shift and just get off the ice. And that's
Yep.
how it should be.
Too often it isn't, though, Bobby.
Absolutely. But I want to ask you a very specific question, just in your own opinion. What makes a great play-by-play announcer from the eyes of Jiggs McDonald?
Enthusiasm, a knowledge of the game, recognizing, like they often talk about Wayne Gretzky's ability to see the play before it happens. Just being able to anticipate and going with the flow of the game, going with the flow. To me, the game is not about the broadcaster. Nobody tuned in to an Islanders game or a Sports Channel America game or whatever because I was doing it. It's the two teams on the ice that are the most important. That it's. I have difficulty with guys who get into a series of one-liners, or I mean, Mike Lang. Yeah, I loved
I was
Mike.
just gonna ask you about that because I grew
Yeah.
up with you on Long Island, and I've lived up here in Buffalo for the last 25 years. And I also listened to Mike Lang in Pittsburgh, and scratch my back with a hacksaw, and
Yeah.
upstairs
Elvis
when
is
Mama hides the cookies with Generette. It's like I don't know. I listened to you, and you had such a smooth voice and delivery, and it was just about the teams and the game, and you were perfect for that. And then to come up here, I thought they were having a stroke sometimes. They were just yelling. I'm like, what is
yeah.
going on?
Yeah. I've been in the car. Well, not so much early in the season this year, but in the past, I'd be coming home from an outing or whatever games would be on. I'd be dialing around to see what scores are and listening. And thinking to myself, "Whoa, wait a minute! How can you listen to this for 2.5, 3 hours, or three periods of hockey, maybe in overtime? The guys, how do they recover from their voice takes such a pounding night at?" And say nothing of the listener's ears. No, the game was never about me. Um, young broadcaster, just as I said, learn the sport, the rule book, the history of your franchise. Go with the flow. If just have fun. The late Danny Gallivan, I'll, I, I'll never forget the advice. And again, I was a young broadcaster. My first year with LA, we went into Montreal, and I had idolized Danny as I had Foster Hewitt and a guy by the name of Norm Marshall in Hamilton back when. So I said to Danny, what advice? He said, "Well, there isn't a whole lot I can tell you, I'm sure." He said, "If you're working the NHL, well, yes. Now wait, Danny had that flow about him. He said, "Yeah, well, wait, yes, there probably is, Jiggs. Never lose sight of the fact that it takes two teams to play the game." Aha. Yeah. In other words, don't be a homer. And so many guys are these days. It's us and them. Don't be a homer. Nice for the home team to win as often as the Islanders did during my years there, but it keep an even flow to it.
Oh, well, how do you feel about Butch then?
My man,
we love
Butchie.
Butch, but he's definitely a homer at times. But
Yeah,
we love Butch.
yeah. You can't help but love Butch. He just he and I go way back, of course, to the LA Kings training camp. I guess it would be year number 3. we were in Guelph when he showed up at training camp, and we've had a friendship, and then to work together with him, um, it just he and Smitty. Billy Smith, of course, was with the Kings our last half dozen games, I guess maybe that I was in LA in '72, and then of course to reconnect on Long Island. But yeah, Butchie's Butchie, and you're not going to change him.
I wouldn't have it any other way.
Perfect. Yeah.
Without a doubt. But I actually do have an interesting question for you because you've had a very long career, 5+ decades of doing this job, and you just absolutely love it without a trace. But you have called games for multiple teams, obviously LA and a little stint with Atlanta, and then of course with the Islanders. Is that which team or era stood out? It stood out to you the most in your memory?
Well, it has to be the Islanders, of course. Um, Winning is everything, as they say. Joining the Islanders, the story that I've told on occasion, but not that often, is talking with Bill Torrey before I had the job. Um, Bill and I on a Saturday morning in Montreal during the NHL annual meetings and the entry draft, we he he had said to me earlier in the week, we'll talk before this week is out. He got up from the Islanders table, and as he came back by the press area, he gave me the finger, like, come with me, and I walked out the door, and we kind of hid out in the hallway, the event level at the old forum there in Montreal. And one of the things he said was, "We're going to win this for a lot of years." I said, "Really?" I said, "You don't think if you go back to Philadelphia for Game 7 that maybe you don't win that?" "Oh no," he said, "we don't want it." "Really?" "Offside goal, the mm-hmm." "No," he said, "we're going to win it for a lot of. We're that good. I hope you come join us and see for yourself." And he was right. The depth of that hockey team, the Al's coaching, and ability to keep everybody happy and uh, nobody complaining about ice time, that kind of thing, was one thing. But the ability of that team, they let you set the pace of play or the style of play, however you wanted to play the game, and then they would match you and beat you at it. And if it came right down to it, with Smitty in goal, you were going to find a way to win. Um, yeah, that would be memorable. The 5 years with Jack Kent Cook and all the happenings in Los Angeles and different things. Atlanta, not so much, but the years with the Islanders and the first years in LA would be by far my most memorable.
Absolutely. And of course, when you're listening to you on the radio, you can't forget those calls in the early 80s there, Jigs. I mean, calling for Mike Bossy, calling for those 4 cups in the 80s. You were everywhere, man, at that point. I mean, you still kept going at that, point. But it's amazing to me that you were able to do that for so long. And then I view you as like the voice of the Islanders. Like whenever I think of broadcasters, I always say you, and then I would always say, between uh Howie Rose, and then so on and so forth. Brendan Burke is up there too, but I think
Oh,
you were
absolutely.
like, yeah, Brendan Burke is a freaking genius. I mean, the guy literally has like his own format of how he would broadcast games. But I feel like at some point, you may disagree with me on this, but I feel like at some point he's going to leave the Islanders and he's going to take a national broadcasting job with like TNT exclusively. Kind of like how Doc Emmerich used to do it with the Devils, where he was with the Devils for many, many years. And then when NBC came along, he was like, "Whoop, I'm out of there."
Yeah, I don't know. Brendan and I haven't talked for a little while. I don't know that he would want to leave, or that there's a network job that would have enough games on a regular basis to be the number one guy. I mean, with the television rights split the way they are right now between ESPN and TNT, there probably isn't enough games to warrant a full time guy, or that they could pay enough uh, to to justify leaving and obviously MSG is pretty good with Brendan and he with them in that he has the flexibility to miss the number of games that he does. And I, I, I hope, I hope he doesn't make a move like that in the near future. He is by far, and I've said this to others, he is by far the best in the league today.
Well, you see
Oh
so
yeah.
much turnover with like broadcasters nowadays, especially broadcast teams. And for you and Eddie Westfall to be together for 15 years with the Islanders, I mean, you've joked in the past that you guys felt like you were together longer than most marriages.
Yeah.
What kind of friendship did you like build with him over those 15 years?
Oh, we had a great time. And that was respect. In my case, respect already as a player and captain, and being just a good guy to travel with and be around. And I think I can speak for Eddie in saying that there was a respect for what I did and how I approached it and prepared and carried it off in the air. I'd known Eddie's two of his three brothers. Um, George was a player. George was a senior hockey player when I was still in Ontario before going to Los Angeles, and his brother Stan was a referee. Um, so I had known the Westfall family, and then I guess probably the first year with the Islanders, I got to meet Eddie's mother and father, and um, and his other brother Howie. Um, Howie was a challenged young man, handicapped, but a great young man. The whole family. So there was a respect back and forth that was second to none. We see one another probably three, four, well, maybe, yeah, about once a month during the winter when Eddie's down in this area of Florida. Um, and we stay in touch. We're either on the phone or texting back and forth. Hey, did you hear about it? This is coming up. That's coming up. What are you doing about so and so or such and such? Like losing the head trainer during the Cup years, Ron Waskey. Recently, Eddie and I were um, commiserating, just talking about the memories with Ron and what we could do for his family and the condolence factor and that kind of thing. So yeah, our friendship
what kind
is
of
real.
dirt do you have on Eddie now? Because you guys been together for 15.
That's going to cost you, Damien. But there's a price. No, I'm kidding.
Yeah. But I was gonna ask you though, because like I was saying before, you've been doing this for a long time. You kind of know the game of the back of your head at this point. But if you were to go back in time from like the 80s and 90s or so, how would you balance storytelling and real time action during a fast paced game? Whether it's the playoffs or like the Stanley Cup.
You can't. You've got to let the game dictate what you can get in. Uh, in my case, I always had a whole page of notes, things that I wanted to get in. Um, and in some cases, graphics or video, if the production crew could come up with them. So they they had a list ahead of time. They knew things that I was hoping to get in. But if you finished the game and you had only done two or three notes, then you knew that you had a good game. If you had to rely on the notes or the thumbnail sketches or stories, um, the game wasn't very good, or maybe you weren't that good. Um, the game will dictate whether you can get a story in. I've often said to anybody that sat beside me with a headset on, stories or notes or things happen when the puck is between the two blue lines, not inside the blue line. Yeah, dump in, chase. You can determine whether, but if there's a forecheck going on, if the guy's coming in hard on him, don't you be telling, don't deviate, don't go somewhere else. Stick with the game. You don't you don't want to miss calling a goal or being on top of a goal or a good play that maybe doesn't lead to a goal but leads to a great scoring chance. You you have to be aware and with the audience at home. Yeah, you're at the game, you're watching it firsthand. Um, the when the play elevates and the voice elevates, that's almost like saying to somebody at home who maybe is taking a look at a newspaper flyer or the day's mail or the bills, and then all of a sudden they're going to miss a goal. Your voice comes up, your excitement level increases as that scoring opportunity comes with it. They're just I what was the question?
Yeah, but I was gonna ask you before was is that how do you balance storytelling with real time action during a fast
Yeah,
paced game?
yeah,
That was the question.
you've got to be you got to be very very cognizant of the play and the pace of the game, whether you can get the story in or not. We broadcasters meetings was in Boston. I don't recall the year, but we had the league brought in a like a show doctor, and the whole thing was based on get stories in, get stories. They were going to like you had your 90-second timeout. They were going to add 10 seconds to it, so that you had 10 seconds either for a replay or a story coming out of commercial. So they're talking to us broadcasters, we broadcasters about that. Down the hall, the board of governors are meeting, saying, "No, we got to speed up the game. We got to get the game going faster. There's no time for this. You can't be telling stories. You can't. It might be different now. Television maybe dictates a little more to the league and the game in some ways, but at that time, oh no, you didn't mess. You didn't ask for extra time to do whatever. In some of the arenas, the Nassau Coliseum was one. If we weren't ready for an opening face-off, you would see guys like Paul Stewart. Um, Denny Morrell was one of the best. Denny would always check with me, and I would be like this. I'm taking my glasses, which I just needed to see stats or whatever. I'd be holding them up to Dennis, and if you ever watch closely, Dennis would be like this, taking his whistle off his hand and handing it up to me. But you could always delay the start, the opening face-off with most of the referees. Boston Garden was great too. You could yell at the referee from the broadcast booth, "Don't drop it yet. Wait, we're not back." Oh
Well,
yeah.
I was gonna say, have you ever tried it?
Do you yell at them?
Yes.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah, we did. Oh sure.
Oh,
We'd give them the stretch sign. Oh, go for a skate. Just do a little loop de loop there. Just check the twine in the net. Make sure there isn't a hole down there. We'll be ready in about 10 seconds.
Well, that kind of leads into our next question is like, you witnessed the game evolve dramatically over the last couple decades. What's the biggest change in the game that you would say?
Over and above the size of the paychecks,
Yeah, other than that, yeah.
um, size of the players, the athletic ability, the goaltenders. Goaltenders way back weren't your best athletes by any means, and you look at them now. Goaltenders are as athletic as your top forwards, but again, size. I think um, there's still a place for a small player if he has the speed, if he has the smarts. But when you take a Rempe on the Rangers and some of these guys, the size of them, and factor in what they can do, the hand-eye coordination, the speed, it's absolutely the best team sport in the world.
Well, yeah, it's a full-time job as an athlete now, as opposed to back in the day when they had part-time jobs in the summer and stuff.
Oh yeah,
And the equipment is so much better too.
Yeah, you came to training camp to get in shape. Now you better be in shape a month and a half before training camp. Um, Players, in the opinion of Herbie Brooks, and Herb and I traveled, I think, 2-3 years together. Uh, Players don't take enough downtime. That body can't, those muscles can't be tight like that year round. You've got to take some time to let that body relax and then rebuild. Um, and I think Herb had a good point that a lot of the injuries, a lot of the serious injuries, are because that body is just way too overconditioned.
I wish they would tell kids that
I do
nowadays because
too.
my kids play soccer, for travel, and they play soccer year round. It's year round. It's like it used to be seasons for sports. Um, so I would wish they would play other sports and work different muscle groups.
Agreed.
without a doubt. But I will say is that because you've been in this for a while, and I'm sure that you probably have more calls than you have cups at this point. But what would you say is your most memorable call that you've ever made throughout your career?
Um, well, the one that comes to mind, of course, would be Michael Bossie's 50 and 50.
Mm,
Um, the the overtime goal in Washington, the Easter epic comes to mind. And I often tell people there was a rink length dash. Bob Bourne picked up the puck back of his own net, went through everybody, and scored. I think it was a game in Washington. I'm not positive, or it might have been at the Coliseum. Um, that those three come to mind immediately, and there are so many more. The overtime goal to eliminate Pittsburgh in year number three, that first round,
yeah.
they won the first two games with ease, then went to Pittsburgh and lost. Had to stay over, lost again, and came home for game number five in a 5 game series, and we're down by two in the third period. I don't know that that was one of my better calls. Um, Certainly memorable, but I'll go back to the Bossy 50 and 50, and then Patty's goal in Washington at 10 minutes to two on that that Sunday morning.
Oh yeah, definitely. Because I was telling you that before we got into the interview earlier today was that my dad was a season ticket holder for 35 years or so, and he's been there since like 1972, and he was at like every big game, including the one with Mike Bossy with the 50 and 50. I think it was against Quebec, Jigs.
Uh,
I'm pretty
yes,
sure.
I
Yeah,
think so. Yeah.
yeah,
The other one that comes to mind was when they set the league record for most consecutive wins or games without a loss, um, beating Chico at home.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Colorado, I guess it was on the Saturday night, and then I think the streak ended the next night in Pittsburgh. But another one that comes to mind was Jim Craig's. This just came right out of nowhere with the Atlanta Flames. Jim Craig's first NHL game after having won the gold medal. 1980 a gold medal winner.
yeah.
Uh, he, I don't know that the guys protected him pretty well, but he did make a couple of key saves that night, and just the fact that here was the one of the many heroes of the '80 Olympic gold medal team now playing in an Atlanta Flames uniform, and the building was full.
Wow. I mean, like I said earlier, I mean, there's like so many moments that you've brought into my childhood because I was born in 1992. So when you were still, with the Islanders, I got to see some of your greatest calls ever. But I think a lot of people point to 50 and then Easter Sunday with against the Caps in the playoffs. But my favorite call, it might have been either you or somebody else, was 1993 against the Penguins with David Volek when he scored the OT winner to upset Pittsburgh.
Yeah, yeah.
Fine.
How did I overlook that one? Yeah, um, yeah. That followed on the heels of Pierre being knocked out of the playoffs. The Hunter hit to the head, and um, yeah, go into Pittsburgh, win in overtime. Healy's in goal. Ferraro is screaming and running around, and I think one of the well, there are so many unsung heroes, but Stevie Thomas, there are just so many guys from that team that contributed immensely. Um, yeah. Then, of course, We get Montreal in the next round, right? And
Yeah, there was
yeah,
the Eastern Conference Finals.
yeah,
There was somebody in goal named Patrick Waugh, apparently.
yes, there was. Yes, there was.
God
Yep.
damn it. God damn it, Patrick. What comes around goes around, I suppose.
That does. It does. That's all part of it, isn't it?
So speaking
Absolutely.
of
Yeah.
those 15 years with Eddie in the booth, you and Eddie, what's the strangest or funniest thing that ever happened in the broadcast booth? I'm assuming it's probably in that 15 years with Eddie. It could be something else, though.
Boy, Damien, there's nothing pops into my head right away. I mean, there probably should be, but there's nothing. No,
I don't know. Eddie was like a character because I remember watching a broadcast one time and they zoomed up on the goalie, Tommy Soderstrom, at the time was the goalie, and they zoomed up on him and Eddie just goes, Tommy Soderstrom. And then that was it. And I'm like, are you going to say something else? Or what was that? But my brother and I still talk about it to this day. That specific time, I was like, it's just weird.
it, and I'm not bailing Eddie out here. I don't think Eddie every now and then the train of thought seemed to disappear, but it was only because your IFB, the truck was talking to him,
Mhm.
telling something, and he was paying more attention to what the direction was coming from the TV truck. That may be. I'm not saying that that's what
That
happened,
makes sense,
but
though.
it could well be because I know I've had those moments. I had one during the Sports Channel America days, coming up to the end of the first period in the game, and I can't remember where I'm to go, where I'm to throw it to. So you push the talkback button, which cuts off your mic on the air, but the truck can hear you. And I said to the producer, just walk me through this. I can't find my paperwork. Where are we going? What are we doing at the end of the period? Back came, Jesus Christ, Jigger. That's why we have meetings. You're on your own. Deal with it. Okay.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah.
Sounds about right. Yeah. But Jiggs, so before we get to the last question tonight, we just want to say thank you so much for joining us tonight. It is absolutely, truly an honor to have you here tonight. Just
I
want to let you know
appreciate
what.
you're too
Absolutely.
kind. I've enjoyed it. I've enjoyed being with you. And hey, anytime you can get together and talk hockey is a good time.
Oh yeah, totally.
Amen.
I am totally up for that. But so we have one last question before we get you out of here, and the question
I
is
don't
that
I don't know her. I never met her. Uh, is that the answer you were looking for?
Yep.
I love that answer, by the way.
Yeah, that's a good answer.
But if you had to choose one broadcast that you would work with again in a heartbeat, who would you pick?
One broadcaster as my analyst,
Yes, if you had to pick one, it could be anybody.
Scotty Bowman.
Scotty Bowman.
Scotty Bowman did one game ever with Scotty, and again it was Sports Channel America. It was the Montreal Canadiens at the Quebec Nordique, and it was Thanksgiving night, U.S. Thanksgiving, and we had we had a great game to work with. And Scotty was so good, in and out. There was no having to guide him along, or don't be too long on a sentence, or he just bang bang bang. In fact, he was so good. I got home the next day, and Dan Kelly called. Dan was ill at the time, and I think you're aware who I'm talking about. The great broadcaster with his, at that time, St. Louis Blues. And Dan and I had a special friendship. Dan said, "McDonald, you did it." The hell did I do? You did it. He said, "I've never heard Scotty as good as he was last night with you. Thank you." Highest praise. And he was. And it had nothing to do with me. It was just Scotty. But if we could have done another half dozen games, maybe they wouldn't have lived up to that, but I would love to have done more with Scotty Bowman.
Well,
His insight, he saw so much. And again, it goes back to the Gretzky thing. He saw the game unfold before it happened. I sat beside him in the rink in Tampa one night. The Islanders score a goal, and he said, "No, no goal." What are you talking about? He said, "Offside." It wasn't offside. He said, "Watch the replay, Jiggs." Sure enough, one of our guys, one of the Islander guys, is leaving the ice. He darted into the bench. The door was inside the blue line, and he had preceded the puck. Wasn't involved in the play, nothing like that, but he had, instead of the door, out towards center ice, and Scotty had picked it up. Just, I mean, it was an automatic. Scotty, trying to recall where we were. Again, it was during the playoffs, and Scotty had been out on the ice and measured the distance from the blue line to the door, each player's bench, and the distance inside the blue line. And he knew that the home team had an advantage because they were closer to the blue line than the visiting team bench. You had to travel further to get to that doorway. Oh, he was incredible. Scotty sat in his office in Pittsburgh again during playoffs, night between games, stopwatch in each hand. He had our telecast, Sports Channel America, on one watch. He had Hockey Night in Canada, your commercial break. We were back within 5 seconds of the commercials ending. Hockey Night was 15 to 20 seconds before they were back. Yeah, he was a master. Good man.
Well, I was going to say before was, first of all, you just taught me something that I had no idea about. I didn't even know Scotty Bowman had a broadcasting like stint at all. Like everybody knows Scotty the coach, but I didn't know there was a Scotty the broadcaster. I had no clue.
Neither did I, and he actually lives here in Buffalo now.
Yeah, yeah. I don't know how many games he did, but he just the one with me that I'm familiar with. The other men over and above, I mean, my regular guys, Eddie being we're attached. We're attached at the shoulder and at the hip. The other one that I really enjoyed working with was Harry Neal. Harry and I had 2 seasons of 50-plus games with the Toronto Maple Leafs, Old Star Sports Productions. Harry, God bless him. What a great, great guy.
Yeah, he was good in Buffalo those years with Generat too. So
yeah. Funny lines, quicker than a hiccup.
Mm-hmm.
Without a doubt. But like I said, Jiggs McDonald, thank you so much for coming on tonight. It is absolutely a pleasure to have you, sir. And I cannot thank you enough for giving us this opportunity.
The pleasure's been mine. Bobby, thank you. Damien, nice to be with you. Happy holidays, Thanksgiving coming up. Enjoy.
Absolutely. Without a doubt.
Thanks so much. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. Thank you, Jiggs. We appreciate it, brother. All right. Have a good night, guys. And this is your host, Buffalo Bob. I'm here with the Great Dane, with Jiggs McDonald, and we are signing off. And take care of yourselves, and we'll see you next time.
All right. Good night.